Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle. I've got an exciting kind of special show for you guys today that I'm hoping you guys will enjoy. This is going to be my favorite songs of 2021. I know especially with prog guys, albums are kind of the focus, and that's where I'm doing the majority of my kind of shows is doing these big album countdowns. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of focus in on the songs that I really like throughout the year. And these are just songs in general, not necessarily prog, but most of them are prog. But there may be a couple choices that are more in a different vein, more in a pop realm. But I wanted to highlight some of my favorite tracks of the year that really touched me. I'm still working on my part 2 of my favorite albums of the year. I did part 1 previously, so counting down basically from 40 to 17. I'm going to do a big kind of interesting, unique show for my top 16 that's upcoming. Probably you'll see that in about a week or so. But I'm taking kind of a quick kind of pit stop to do this favorite songs of 2021 list. And I'm kind of just going to play them through. I'm kind of experimenting with the style here. I imagine there's probably going to be issues with copyright. I'm hoping that I can post this, but we'll see. There might be segments that are muted or I have to trim out or something. But we'll reach that bridge when we get there. But I'm just going to play through. I don't want it to be too long of a show. I'm kind of viewing this as almost like a great opportunity to sample some of the music that I talk about and just to kind of get a little piece of it. So I'm basically going to play like a minute of each song and talk a little bit over it about why I like that song. But so I'm hoping to keep this, besides this kind of intro part, down to about 30 minutes where you could just hear a snippet of each song and me kind of talk briefly about what I like about it. That's kind of the format that I plan on here. So this is just, and there's no limits. I thought about limiting like no epics, no, only one per artist, things like that. But I just decided to not worry about that. And it's just any song is fair game. It can be, 2 minutes long. It could be 35 minutes long, any range of time. And there could be multiple songs by the same artist. Anything's fair game, but I think it's a pretty well-rounded list that really showcases my tastes. And hopefully you guys will be forgiving of some of the more popular choices that are on here, but like I said, there's not very many, just a few. So let's get into it with number 30. So I'm just going to play just like halfway through the tracks just to give you an impression. Like I said, play maybe a minute, maybe even a little bit less, just to get an impression of the song and then move on to the next one. So let's start with number 30. All right, so number 30 is No Air by Perfect Storm. This is fantastic music that I just really like this song. It's really kind of peaceful and atmospheric, has these great female vocals. This is a band from the Netherlands that really had a great release this year that I really liked. But I believe this is the title track of it, and it's really beautifully done. So this deserved a spot on the list for me. Alright, so at number 29, this is Scarypoolparty and the song Bless Her. This is kind of a unique one. It's kind of in the poppier vein, as you can kind of hear, but it's a little bit more eclectic, in my opinion, than most pop music. This is kind of from an album that was a little bit overlooked this year, I thought, but it's really a great one. It just has kind of a cool, kind of jazzy, funky vibe to it with some great strings and piano playing, so it really captivated me this year. So this is Bless Her. Alright, so at number 28 we've got Transatlantic and The Darkness and the Light from their Absolute Universe album. I really liked this one. It was hard to pick out certain tracks from it because it's just so cool as an entire album. But I really do appreciate the kind of funky bass line that kind of permeates throughout this one. I thought it was really well done. It has a really cool vibe to it. Just kind of has this kind of dark, kind of moody, atmospheric kind of feel that I thought was really good. So at number 28, Darkness and the Light by Transatlantic. Just listen to that bass. It's just really cool, So one I really appreciated from the album that was hard to pick out, but good one. Alright, so another kind of interesting veer into a different territory is number 27. This is Leslie Hunt, and the song Starting Over. More of a poppier song for sure, but I really like Leslie. I think she's a great artist. She's lead singer of a prog band, District 97, and I think she does a fantastic job as a vocalist there over these kind of complex, things that the prog band does. But here she has a chance to just sing and really be the star of her own show and do kind of more of a poppier feel to her music, and I just really, really like the vibe of it. This comes from an EP she released this year, so definitely check out really good, solid pop music. So at number 26, I've got Beehive by Meer. Meer Playing House is one of my favorite albums this year. I really loved it. It has a cool kind of indie rock, atmospheric kind of vibe, but there's little prog flourishes. I love the strings that go off through it. Really incredible sound. I just really adore this track. I think it's a strong one from this album and just gives you that vibe that you're looking for with some great soaring female vocals. So just really beautiful and really fun to listen to. So at number 25, we've got A Spiritual Change by Hasse Froberg and the musical companion. Kind of a newer album that really just came about recently, but it's really, really cool. I really like this one a lot. And this is kind of the big epic closer of the album, which kind of brings to mind like classic Flower Kings vibes. And it's just soaring and symphonic and has some great like guitar soloing that you can hear. Really a beautiful classic track that I think was a really strong one from this latest album. So at number 24, I've got Moron Police and the song The Stranger and the Hightide. I just thought this was just a fun, bouncy, cool, proggy song. They released an EP this year that was more in a Western style theme, they kept saying, but it's still proggy and fun, and I just love their style. A Boat on the Sea was the prior album. It was just one of my standouts from the year it was released, and this was just more of the same, just great proggy pop stuff. It's really fun. It's really jammed to this. I love it. Next we've got Follow the Light by Cory, Wong, and Dirty Loops. This has such a funky kind of groove to it. I really like the horn stabs and just like has almost that like Michael Jackson kind of funk pop sensibility, but it's just done really well. I just really love this song. In fact, it's what Spotify told me was my most listened to song of the year, so I must like it at least a bit. So I'm putting it at number 23 here. Just really good groove, great singing, great playing by everybody. Really like this one. I think it's really well crafted. So next we've got an interesting one. This is Smalltape and the song Hunger, which comes from their album Hungry Heart. Really a classic, great song. I just found a lot to enjoy from this band. Kind of an eclectic stew of stuff. I think it's mainly based from one man, but it's really sounds expansive, and has a bunch of different feels and vibes to it. Has kind of a little bit of a classical element with the different instruments included, but it definitely has a cool sound and vibe to it. Even here it's a little bit more laid back and kind of cool vibes, so just a really cool track that deserves a spot here. Alright, so at number 21, this is Emperor by Caligonaut. Fantastic kind of debut project. It's like kind of has a classic symphonic prog feel, Features a lot of the members of Wobbler, so it has that vibe to it, kind of this like Norwegian prog kind of aspect. Really, really well done and beautiful, beautiful album. It's a longer track, so it's kind of a little bit of a prog epic, but it really sounds great. I really like it a lot. Alright, so at number 20 I've got Riverside, Story of My Dream. This is a track from their latest kind of compilation project celebrating their 20th anniversary. So this is a new track that they released for this compilation, and it kind of encapsulates the whole sound of Riverside in this one track. Even I have a lot of lyrical references to their older songs, and it's just it really skirts the line well between the different styles of the band. Some harder, heavier edge stuff at points, but some also cool melodies and great rhythms. So just really hard rocking right here especially. So this is a really great new track by the band. So at number 19 I have Thank You Scientist and Plague Accommodations. This is a track from their latest EP of the same name. I could really have picked any track from this EP. I love this EP. I think it's fantastic. It shows the band at their best in a lot of ways. I think they really excel here in a great way. All these tracks feel like they could live on their previous album Terraformer, which was one of my favorite albums when the year it came out. Just really a perfect album. So I just love the style of the band, and they really do a great job on this track. Just some great playing, great vocals, great sounds. I love the soundscape of the band, so definitely one of my favorite tracks of the year. So this is Anthem to the Edge of the Earth from Dirt Poor Robins at number 18. They came out also with a compilation album, and this was the new track on the compilation album, and I thought it was a fantastic classic track from the band. Just has kind of their signature style that's hard to describe, but just really great singing, great melodies, and just sounds really great, and they really do a good job on it. It has that kind of great epic feel to it. Just great moments and great melodies. I love it. Alright, so from a total different place, this is probably a weird choice, but at number 17 is Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic. I know it's a pop song, I know it was on the charts and it's on radio, but I just think it's a fantastic like throwback 70s soul song that just really grabbed me the first time I heard it. Like, wow, this is something really interesting and cool. And I love their whole record that just barely came out, An Evening with Silk Sonic. I just think it has such great vibes and such great classic throwback style. It reminds me of the classic 70s soul that my dad would show me and loves. So definitely feel that vibe, and I love this. And so I know it's not prog, nowhere near prog, but great music is great music, so I wanted to put it on my list here. So at number 16 I have On My Odyssey from the band Sylvan. I thought this was a really great track on their album. It just has that like violin sound you can hear. It has this almost folky kind of vibe to it in sections that I really like. So it kind of brings a bit of this kind of great feel to it. I really think this sounds fantastic. The new album is really cool, and it's just one I haven't heard people talk about much, but it's a really great album with soaring melodies, great emotional vocals, some great guitar playing here. This melody is just so sweet and sublime. I really like this. And this was one of the standout tracks to me that kind of provided the variety and different kind of sounds that I was looking for. And so definitely one of my favorite tracks. So at number 15 I've got Dream Theater and their track Transcending Time. This was hard to pick and choose a Dream Theater track from their new album because I really like their new album, and I feel like they definitely deserve to have a placement on this list, but I feel like all the tracks are solid and nothing really stands out on the new record to me particularly to pick for a songs list like this, but this was the one on re-listening to it for my album ranking show to come that really stuck with me. It has this kind of great Rush kind of vibe to it. It's more in a major chord, so it kind of like stands out on the record a little bit, and it just packs a good punch and has some great melodies, so I thought it was a really strong track from their record and deserves placement here on this list. Alright, so at number 14, this is Frost, Day and Age, which I absolutely love. It opens their album of the same name. It just goes through so many different feels and vibes. You know, it has a great melody to it that, you know, it's interesting, the tracks on this, that they kind of don't have many solos or big explosive, like, instrumental moments like that, but they just really bring some great sounds and a great soundscape to it, and I really like the melodies, and it's a great, well-constructed track that just really spoke to me this year, so definitely deserves to be a spot here. Just, it grooves along and it's just really cool. Definitely check it out. Alright, so number 13, this is kind of an odd one perhaps, but this is called Supernormal by Everything, a band that I truly love that's probably more in the pop realm, indie pop, indie rock kind of space, but there's little touches of kind of like progressiveness in their music to me, like almost like if Gentle Giant made modern pop music, this might be what it sounds like. And this was just kind of a single they released through the year that just really grooved to me. I really like the sound of it, and I think the band really kicks it into high gear here with some just great sounds. So I recommend this track. It's a really solid one. So I've got the Indigo Child by the Deer Hunter here at number 12. This track just really spoke to me for some reason. Like, the moment I heard it, it's just upbeat, uplifting. It's just really fun and fascinating, and I just was really looking forward to a new Deer Hunter song because it's been a while since they've released a new band track like this. And so it was just kind of a single leading up to what's hopefully their new album next year, but just sounds so fantastic. I love the feel of it. It has this kind of world music kind of sense, but otherworldly at the same time. Just like has this kind of groove that you can get behind, and just sounds really fantastic. I really loved the vibe of this for sure. Just one of my favorite tracks of the year by far. Alright, next at number 11 is Greta Van Fleet and the song Broken Bells. Now, I really loved this Greta Van Fleet album. I know there's a lot of people who may not care for the band that much, and they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, certainly. But I just thought this was a great, like, classic rock song. It feels like it could be on the level of like a Stairway to Heaven in a modern era. Just great vocals, soaring melodies, really epic in its scope and style. I just really love it. I think it's really well crafted. And I even heard an acoustic version. I think I did a reaction to it in early days of the channel, and that even brought it to another new height for me. So this was definitely one of my favorite tracks of the year. I really love this one. I think it's beautiful. Alright, so next here I have a Liquid Tension Experiment and their track Rhapsody in Blue at number 10. This is just a fantastic piece of music. Of course, it's a cover of the classic Gershwin piece, but I think they really bring it to a new level. They really enhance the sound of it, and maybe not enhance it, but like bring it into their own style in such a fascinating way, really bring that progressive metal kind of flavor to it. I heard them perform this live when they did their tour quite a ways back, like over 10 years ago now. They played in LA. Maybe it wasn't quite that long ago, but it was back in those days. Yeah, it was probably around that time, but just a really great, expansive, just track that goes through so many different moods and melodies. And I think Jordan Rudess gets a chance to shine with all his kind of crazy keyboard work and such. It's just really cool. Just goes through so many different moments and fun melodies, and just it's really an infectious track that I thought was the highlight of the new Liquid Tension Experiment album. So kicks off my top 10 here. The great track. So next I have at number 9 Cyan and the song The Sorcerer. This is a fantastic track that opens up this new Cyan album. Of course, Cyan was a project from way back when, I believe late 80s, early 90s period, and brought by Rob Reed into the new era with Pete Jones on vocals. And they just really embraced the prog on this. It's about fantasy concepts and it's very highly proggy, but it's done in a really great way and just has all the hallmarks of a classic prog epic. And I'm really excited to see where this band moves forward from this. But this was one of my favorite tracks this year. Just really symphonic prog at its best, and really highlights such a great classic sound brought into a modern era. Just really sounds great. I just love this. Alright, so next I have Ross Jennings and the song Violet at number 8. Just a great track from Ross Jennings' solo record that kind of has a great blend of this kind of bouncy, funky kind of pop kind of sound to it, but little prog flourishes kind of inserted in to kind of give it variety and kind of a different feel. But I think his voice is excellent. It's a great fun track that's fun to listen to. And so I really appreciated this one a lot. I thought it was just a blast to listen through, and I had a lot of fun with it this year. Alright, so at number 7 I have Transatlantic, The World We Used to Know. This is just... It's a track that's only on the Forevermore version of Absolute Universe, but I thought it was one of the highlights of the record, so I'm surprised it didn't make the cut on Breath of Life. But it's a very Royna Stolt sounding song, so maybe that's partially since the Forevermore version's more of his kind of baby, whereas Breath of Life is more Neil Morse's baby. But I just love the feel of this. It feels like almost like classic Flower Kings mixed with, you know, some Transatlantic classic stuff as well. Just was one of my favorite kind of tracks. It's hard to take out a track from Absolute Universe, you know, and have it stand on its own, but this is one of the ones to me that you can pull and it just sounds fantastic on its own. Just a really great track that deserves its spot here. At number 6, I have Leprous and the song Running Low. I don't know why, you know, this is probably placed higher than I might expect, but it's just such a fantastic work of music. It's just so funky and so hard-hitting. You know, when the band comes in full force, just such emotional playing by the band. I love the kind of strings in the background. It has such a cool sound palette to it. I just always loved this from the moment it was the first single from the new album, and it's always stood out as one of my favorite pieces for the year. Even though it's shorter and you know, more in a single kind of place than some of the more longer, lengthier pieces, but I just think it really encapsulates what the band were going for with this album. Just the mood and darkness and feel, but that hard-hitting edge, and so really works for me. I just think this was a great track. Alright, kind of getting into our top 5 here. At number 5 I have Picking Up the Pieces by Meer. I talked a bit about them on the previous entry, more near the bottom of the list. But I really love this track. This is what hooked me into the band. It's the opening track from their album Playing House, and it just has all the hallmarks of what I want in my music. Just has beauty and just so much passion and power. It has that kind of chamber pop kind of vibe, indie rock vibe to it. Some great female vocals, but it also has prog flourishes, especially in some of the instrumental moments that it has. And I just really appreciated that vibe to it. It's just really cool. And I love the instrumentation and what the band does with this. It's just, it really was something that really captivated my mind this year and was one of the more pleasant surprises of the year, of a band that just really knocked my socks off that I wasn't expecting. So, beautiful track, highly recommended. Alright, so at number 4 I have 12 Things I Forgot by Steven Wilson. I know a lot of people probably don't care for his latest record, Future Bites, because it's much more pop-centric than his previous albums have been. He's kind of been heading slowly in that direction. But I just love this song. It's just so well crafted. It's beautiful. To me, it's the highlight of that record. It sounds like it could be like classic, like Light Bulb Sun era Porcupine Tree. It just has such a great melody and is so beautifully crafted. I just love it. Love the harmonies and the great stuff in it. You know, the playing, the just bouncy kind of really reflective quality of it. And I just think it's a really great crafted, beautiful song. I just really love it a lot. It's so good. Alright, number 3 I have Frost and the song Kill the Orchestra. To me, this is just the magnum opus of the album, to me, of day and age. I really love the vibe of it. I love Jim Godfrey's vocals, and it can be heavy and dark, but also just pretty and melodic, and just goes through so many moods and feels, and just really encapsulates the feel they were going for with the album. I just love the melodies, love all the different structures and different feels. I love kind of the callbacks to some of the prior songs on the album. Just really beautifully crafted, and is why I come to prog. I really love how this was constructed and the sound of it and how diverse in its nature. And if I could pair it with the final track on the album, as well as just kind of this great combined piece to end the album, I would do so. But if I have to single out a track, I think Kill the Orchestra is where it's at for me. Alright, so number 2 I have to go with Big Big Train and the song Atlantic Cable. I love Big Big Train, and I feel like they're at their best with these kind of expansive epics, and this was a highlight of their new record, which is just totally a beautiful record, and this one really evokes the spirit of the band in the best possible way. Feels like classic Big Big Train, but brought into a new era. I love David Lungden's vocals on it. I love the playing. Just gives the whole band a chance to shine. Has that kind of sweet kind of English and folky elements to it. Great playing, great instrumental sections. Just has it all, really. And just is basically a showcase for the band to play in their style. I love the subject matter of the song and the story behind it. It's just really great and beautiful. Greg Sponton really outdid himself with this track. You know, I feel like some people don't like the opening tracks on Common Ground because they do things a little differently, but to me this is where they hit home and just like do what they do best and excel at it. So I love this track, Atlantic Cable. Alright, now we come to my number 1. And I know it's probably somewhat predictable in a sense, but I have to pick Beyond the Years by the Neil Morse Band. It's killer. I just love every facet of this track. It goes through so many different moods. It's a huge, 30-minute epic, and just has so many different sounds and styles thrown into the mix. I just absolutely think they've hit the mark and then some. It does everything in the world that I want my prog to do, and goes through so many different movements. It's like everything about the Neil Morse Band all rolled into one mega package. It's like they go through all the different sounds and styles that they're known for, and some new things, and just every member of the band is shining and is doing incredible stuff. I just can't say enough great stuff about it. To me, it's kind of become the seminal Neil Morse epic now, the kind of benchmark for great epics from Neil Morse. And for him to do that this far in the career is just next level amazing. So just totally adore it, and just think it's so well done, and was definitely my favorite track of the year. So there you have it. Those are my favorite 30 tracks for 2021. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that segment. I know it was probably a little weird. I'm kind of experimenting with the style here of just kind of putting in the music as I'm listening to it and talking about it. Hopefully you found something to enjoy here, because I think it's all really great music that deserves some focus and some attention, because it's so great. So I'm going to definitely put like a Spotify list together. Really, I have a Spotify list of my top 50 tracks from the year. I highlighted just the top 30 of that. And there's a track or two that aren't on that list because they're not on Spotify. But for the most part, most of these are, and you could check out the songs in full. I would really recommend that if you're into Spotify at all. Check out my top 50. I'll definitely link it in the description. And this probably gives you a little bit of a peek into what to expect for my top 16 albums as well. A little bit of a sneak peek, because a lot of the songs featured here are from those albums that I viewed highly for the year. So hopefully you guys like this show. I hope you guys will continue on your journeys through listening and enjoying music, and I'll hopefully hear from you guys soon. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.